Hi, my name's Richard.
I'm Rachel.
Welcome to Aspirations Dance video lessons. While the techniques that we're going to discuss in these videos will work for any level of dancer, we are going to be primarily looking at the casual dancer, the kind of person who isn't really interested in the pressures of competition work, but just really wants to get onto the dance floor and experience the fun and enjoyment of partner dancing. So let's get things started. Okay, in this video we're going to talk about the concept of the turn in ballroom dancing. Now, once you have an understanding of this will work in pretty much everything we do, all the way up to championship level. And there will be exceptions, of course. When we encounter those, we'll talk about the exceptions. But this is pretty much the foundation work that's going to allow you to place turns into your ballroom dancing. Eventually, whenever the lead decides, it's going to be lead-driven turns with the follow understanding how to interact. That way, it's going to move us away from having to remember. So we're not going to be dancing and thinking, oh, I have to put a turn in here. In the early stages, there is a little bit of that, but once we move past that, the turn can be applied at any point on the dance floor. What that will allow you to do, of course, is get out there, dance, have fun, and feel that wonderful moment where it just flows so smoothly and you work as one. It's a fantastic time when it happens, and it's one of the reasons why we love it when it works. When it doesn't work, of course, it turns into bumper cars, wrestling matches, all sorts of stuff out there on the dance floor. But we're going to hopefully move you through that by talking about these things. Okay, so let's get started. So one of the things we're looking at is what the foot is doing during a turn. And if we look at talking about the forward step, because as we know, we've only got a limited number of directions, forwards, backwards, to the side, we're only really going to be looking at forward and backwards here. So we're already bringing it down to a small number of choices. We'll talk about what happens during the forward step first, and we'll apply it to both feet. Pretty much all forward turns complete at that point. So as a foot moves forwards, what we're looking to do is take the toe, turn it out away from us, and follow with the body. Okay, so you can see that happening there. Okay, so we'll do that again, but we'll use the other foot. So as it moves forwards, we turn the toe out away from us, and we follow with the body. You can see now we've created a turn off the forward step. We'll do that from a different angle. So if you're following along, you can follow. We'll turn and face in this direction. And you can see as a foot moves forwards, we turn the toe out and we follow it with the body. Okay, and of course that will apply on both feet. So as we take the other foot forwards, we turn the toe out, we follow with the body. And that creates a turn. We don't need to remember whether it's left or right. The rule remains consistent whether it's on the left foot or the right foot. Now comes the backward step. Now this is the one that can catch people out early on because the forward step feels a little bit more natural than the backward step. But in the backward step, what we're looking to do is take the heel out away from us. So we're pushing the heel away. And as we push the heel away from us, as it's moving backwards, again, we turn the back into it. So let's start with the left side and let's see that in action. So as we push that foot back, we turn the heel out, and we turn, and you see we've created the turn. Again, we'll do that on the other side, so you can have a look at that in action. So we'll switch feet, and we'll push that back, turn the heel out, and we're turning, and away we go. Okay, again, we'll do that from a different angle there, so you can see. So again, starting on the left side, we push that foot back, the heel goes out, the body turns, and we've created the turn, which of course can also be applied on the right foot. As that foot moves backwards, we can push and turn out, and again we create that turn. Okay, so there you go, there's our base concept for the turn. So we're now going to take a look at that in action. So we'll get into hold and we can have a look at the turns working. So as we get into position here, I'll start with the left side so we can see as we move forwards, you'll see that Rachel's heel turns out, and my left foot as it moves forwards, the toe turns out, and we create a turn. There we are, we're moving together. And again on the other side, if I was to take that foot forwards, turn the toe out, Rachel takes it, there you go, we've created a turn. And again from the backwards position here, as we take the foot back, you can see here, I turn that heel out and we've created the turn. and again I'll do that on the other foot, so you can see all of the turns in position and working. If we were to just focus on the feet though, we would start to experience some problems from a connectivity perspective. For example, as we're going into our close hold here, and if we'll start on the side closest to the camera, what you'll see, if Rachel is controlling her own turn and remembering that it's a turn, because of course right now she knows we're going into the turn, then what we'll see is Rachel tries to apply the concept as I'm applying the concept. What's going to happen is it's going to start, you see it's pulling away, and we want to avoid that, of course, because once that starts happening, we're now no longer interacting together. We become two independent people trying to solve the problem. Now, one of the main things that starts to happen when that happens is we find that the lead starts to pull in a little bit closer. So you can see we start to crush our partner into us to stop them from doing that. But actually, it's easily solved if we look at what the follow's objective is when we're going into any of our dance steps. Whilst this is going to sound a little bit odd and probably hard to deal with initially from a follow's perspective, your job is to actually do nothing to help. So when we're out on the dance floor, you're not really going to know that the turn is happening, because although early on we'll build up some kind of formulas to create turns, so you've got something to work with, later down the line the lead will want to just apply a turn and the follow will want to work with that. So your job as a follow is to not anticipate the turn, but to just move the foot in the forward or backwards position depending on which way we're going, of course. And what will happen there, so we'll do again on the foot closest to camera, when we've got all our connection work, and again if you haven't looked at the hold video in depth, this is one of the parts now where you will probably want to apply some of those later techniques that we have talked about, although it will still work with just base technique work, but there are issues again with that. So what we're looking at here, as I'm moving forwards in between Rachel's feet, I'm going to use the framework to create the turn. So now I know that the foot's going to move forwards and turn out. So now that I know that information, I can use the frame to create the turn. So you can see when I move my frame in position, Rachel is working with that, because Rachel's applied her framework and is feeling that, whichever direction I turn her in. Probably knocking her off balance a little bit there. But you see now as I apply this turn, Rachel is only really thinking about moving backwards because she feels the pressure and connection work that tells her it's a backward step. Now, if I was to just do a straight step, for example, then nothing would happen. We would just move in a straight line. Now, if I was to apply the turn, of course, I am now going to interact with my framework, my toe turning out, and at that point, as Rachel moves backwards, as I rotate my frame, Rachel turns into position, and we remain connected. Now, you see there that Rachel's foot still followed the rules, so we can use the rules and concepts to do checks and balances on these things. But the reality is, when it comes to the follow, there's no need for you to really get involved with the turn. In fact, you have so many things to worry about in dancing. Why would you want to get involved with that? Give that responsibility to the lead. Let them do all the work. Let them have all the pressures of working out when a turn is going to be applied. But of course, leads, once we've got this concept, it won't matter. There is no pressure. Pressure is lifted. There's no memory test involved at all at this point, because it's all about interaction. Again, on the other side, if I was to just move forwards here, Rachel would move backwards. Of course, that would happen. If I was to apply the turn, I would rotate in and we would create the turning work. And that would give us the turns. Same on the backwards step. If I was to, again, we'll use the foot closest to camera. If I was to move backwards and in a straight line, Rachel would just move forwards, again from the connection work. And then if I was to move backwards and apply the rotation, we would create a turn. And again, that'll happen on whichever foot we're using. The work will be the same as long as we apply that rotation work. So from a leads perspective here, it's all about maintaining your frame, getting ready to create this good work. One of the exercises that I often say in the class is find your frame, so find where it is, try to work it out, and then spend the day just walking around like this, picking up your cup of coffee, Of course, no, maybe not. You can't drink it from there. But, spend the day just walking around with your frame like this, keeping it locked in position in a way that is not tense, but it's relaxed, but it's stable, so that it's not going to move when your partner tries to pull away or tries to work into the dance themselves. The frame becomes so important for the turn work. It's the bit that's going to make it happen. So as a lead, you really want to make sure you're working that upper body framework into those turns, so you can really let your partner know that the turn is coming up and it's happening. And that's going to give you really great turn work, which when applied is going to be interactive, and again you're going to get that wonderful moment of that feeling of flowing together on the dance floor, and so many more things that will come out of that. So Rachel, is there anything you'd like to add from the follows perspective?
Yeah, just to say, for follows out there, the frame is just as important for us as it is for the leads. It's all very well the leads having a fantastic frame. If we're not matching that, it just goes to waste. So you want to make sure that you lock everything in place, it doesn't move. In theory, the lead should be able to turn you just using the tip of the finger like that. Whereas if I relax this arm and my lead tries to turn me, that's what happens, nothing. So lock those arms in place, keeping the shoulders down and back, and that way your lead can communicate to you when the turn's going to happen. It's very important that we don't guess. Most of the time in the ballroom dances we're going backwards, so we can't see what potential obstacles there may be around and about, be it other people on the dance floor or furniture if you're doing this in your living room. So we need to trust our lead, have our frame locked in place, then they can move us around the dance floor, and hopefully we don't crash.
Okay, so take that information, take a look at the 3-beat work where we talk about turns initially, and also have a look at the 4-beat work, the Foxtrot and Quickstep work, where we'll use all of that information and we will refer to it during all of those videos. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. Do all the usual stuff. Give us feedback, like, subscribe, call us in the wee small hours with all your problems. And, if it's important to you, it's important to us. We just want to make sure you're having a great time out there on the dance floor.